All right, now we're going to take a look at this defense. I'm going to start with Dan Hampton, Hall of Famer, named the King or Danimal, guy that was a part of that beast of a defense in 1985. He's a four-time Pro Bowl. He's an All-Pro, of course, Super Bowl champion. He's definitely been. He was inducted a very, very long time ago, 15 years ago, and overall, just exactly what you want. Just a fantastic, fantastic dude. Played for about 13, 14 years. Doesn't get the respect he has really should be getting. Only recorded 57 sacks in the system, but this is a guy that definitely had, I'm sure, had multiple sacks, more like 100, maybe 90, 95 to 100. No, this is a guy that really could dominate, and he can hold his own. And having him, in that defense, I mean, that was big to have Dan Hampton there. He was scary. Really, he could get to the QB, and he can just scare you. He really can. He was really merciless. He really was, and he was ready to dominate. Now, talking about merciless defenders, how about defensive tackle Steve McMichael, a guy that was 6'2", 270, a guy that was a two-time Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, and a guy that, well, yeah, he can dominate. He really can. Big part of this 85 Bears defense. A guy that had recorded 95 career sacks. That didn't include his first 2 years in the league. A guy that had about 850 tackles. He had 3 safeties. He had multiple fumble recoveries, multiple forced fumbles. 2 interceptions in his career. A guy that was really was merciless. He was gonna go out there. He was gonna kill you. He wasn't gonna feel bad. He was gonna go out there and prove to you why you should be afraid of him. And that's pretty much a lot of what this defense is going to be about. It's just about fear, and there's a lot of them that can impose that. All right, the Chicago Bears. I'm rolling with a 3-4. I think 3 D line are just what they need. Their linebackers are phenomenal. And you'll see why. But defensive end, Richard Dent, Hall of Famer, 4-time Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, won the Super Bowl twice. He did win with San Fran. This is a guy that had 137.5 career sacks. This is a guy that's had about 680 combined tackles. He had multiple fumble recoveries, multiple forced fumbles. He had 8 picks in his career, one of them being a touchdown. This is a guy he's scary. He's also a Super Bowl MVP. He won the Super Bowl MVP in the '85 Super Bowl 20 as a part of that Bears defense. This is exactly what you need. You have scary guy in Dan Hampton. You got McMichael. You have Richard Dent. All part of the '85 squad, that '85 defense, right? And that goes to show how dominant this defense was. Those 3 guys in itself, that's all they need. They don't need a 4th guy. Like, those 3 guys already in itself, they're going to impose their will on linemen a lot. They really will. Now, at the outside linebacker position, you're going to have Butkus. Butkus is, well, he's phenomenal. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. He's a 5-time All-Pro. He's a guy that can get after it with the meanest of them, and he's not afraid. And he's actually very much a very, very frightening guy. He's a frightening individual. He really will just murder you, and he's one of those guys that can just murder you, and it just wouldn't matter to him. He'd be like, well, whatever, I did my job. Like, this is another one of those fearful guys that played in the 60s and 70s, did not play with that 85 Bears defense. If they did, that would have been even more scary. That would have topped it all. But no, this is a guy that, just a great linebacker. Definitely Premier League middle linebacker. I'm putting him on the outside because there's 2 fantastic inside linebackers that I have there. But really, I have total faith in Dick Butkus to just do his job. He's gonna do whatever he can to impose his will. So, all right, how about that inside linebacker position? You're gonna first start with having Brian Urlacher, a guy coming from Washington, from the Pasco area. If anyone is from Washington, Pasco, Washington is right there in that kind of eastern side of the state. 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. I totally think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. That's a for sure thing, in my opinion. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Just a guy that's very much so an intimidating dude. A guy that's had over 1,000 tackles. A guy that's had 41.5 sacks as a middle linebacker. A guy that's had multiple fumble recoveries, 2 of them for touchdowns. He's had multiple forced fumbles. He's had multiple pass deflections, multiple interceptions, 2 of them for touchdowns. This is a guy that can do it all. He's a great inside linebacker kind of guy, and he's going to help a lot with a Hall of Famer that we're going to announce that also is going to be on the inside with him. Now, how about this inside linebacker position? And the other one is Michael Singletary. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best top 10 linebackers of all time. Hall of Famer, 10-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion with the 85 Bears defense. A guy that's had thousands of tackles, you know. I say thousands, obviously 1,000. There's just not guys that have, you know, like 5,000. Not saying that, but he's had hundreds of tackles, so practically thousands, like in his career. And this is a guy that's had a fair share of games played. Starting in 81, finishing in 92, all with Chicago. Almost for the most part, every year in his career, he was a Pro Bowler and All-Pro. A guy that played in over 150 plus games. A guy that you want, you know, literally a guy that you want. Won Defensive Player of the Year 2 times. Walter Payton Man of the Year, and he was in the All 1980s team. This is exactly what you need. You need this kind of defense, and having Mike Singletary with Brian Urlacher together that's scary. Now we're gonna meet right outside linebacker Lance Briggs. For Bears fans, I'm sure they know Lance Briggs. I mean, Lance Briggs has been a very, very key asset to this Bears defense for a long time. Him and Urlacher go way back. Of course, 7-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro. Didn't get much respect, I would say, in his career, though. This is a guy that definitely belongs, in my opinion, in the Hall of Fame. He's accumulated 1,000 tackles combined, 15 sacks, 7 fumble recoveries, 86 pass deflections, 16 forced fumbles, 16 interceptions, 5 of them for touchdowns. This is a guy that he's a fantastic right outside linebacker. He's a guy that's, you know, he's going to get after it. He really is. Definitely played more inside, but I have faith he's going to do fine on the outside. And him and Butkus, man, Urlacher and Singletary. This is a scary linebacking core. Now it's time to do the secondary. And we start with corner Dave Duerson. Dave Duerson was a part of the 85 Bears team. So another guy that I would say gets overlooked. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler, won the Super Bowl twice. One with the New York Giants, with Chicago, of course. It's a guy he's had his fair share, 20 interceptions, played in 160 games, 16 sacks, had 5 fumble recoveries, a fumble, you know. Was never recorded as a pass deflection kind of guy, but I think he's going to do pretty well at that corner position. They barely scored many points because, well, let's be honest here. Their D-line, their linebackers in the 85, I mean, they barely got anything, right? Well, that's going to be the case here. I mean, I don't see QBs really getting past much on that front 7. I mean, that's a scary front 7 to go through, right? So I don't see much action from that side. But, you know, I think, if anything, he'll be ready. I think Dave Duerson is one of those underrated guys on this 85 Bears defense. I think he'll do pretty good. I really do. I just think he didn't have as much opportunity because, well, that D-line, those linebackers, they just never gave that secondary much of a chance just because, well, by the time that they were getting ready to, you know, try to get to cover guys so they don't catch anything downfield, they're already getting sacked or something was going to happen, forced fumble or something. So, no, I think Duerson will do great. Also, he is a Walter Payton Man of the Year winner in 1987. The other corner is going to be a very underrated guy, I would say. Charles Tillman, 2-time Pro Bowler, an All-Pro. Yeah, he played for Carolina his last year, but this is a guy that played his entire career pretty much in Chicago. 12 years of them in there, you know. This is, in my opinion, this is a fantastic just overall pickup, in my opinion. I think not many people are definitely going to try Charles Tillman. He's a tough guy, man. He really is. Playing in 168 games, having 38 interceptions career. Not bad. 8 of them for touchdowns. Having 141 pass deflections, 44 forced fumbles, 1 fumble, 12 fumble recoveries for a touchdown, 3 sacks, and about 850 plus tackles. You're not going to try this guy. This guy is a fantastic, fantastic corner. So, yeah, I wouldn't try it. 2013 NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year Award winner. Guy that's really had no credit. 2-time Pro Bowl, like a 2 Pro Bowls and an All Pro. Yeah, I just feel like he should have had more respect on there. He's been a pretty great corner for many years. So, all right, now free safety. It's gonna be Mike Brown. Stealing pretty much the best free safety I've found from the secondary of the Bears organization. Guy that played for 9 years in Chicago, 1 in Kansas City. Not terrible, really wasn't terrible at all. No, a guy that he had some pretty good years. I would say, like, surprisingly quiet, right? But he did his thing, A guy that played about 116. He played exactly 116 games, 20 picks, 4 of them touchdowns, 46 pass deflections, 8 forced fumbles, 8 fumble recoveries, 3 of them for touchdowns, 7 sacks, and about 600 plus tackles. I would say that's not terrible. I'd say that's pretty good. He was a 2000 NFL rookie team. I think he'll fit just well. I really do. I really do believe everything's going to be fine. And yeah, I believe he'll bring some uniqueness to the table on the secondary and this Chicago defense. All right, so now it's going to be strong safety Gary Fencik, 2-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro, won the Super Bowl with the Chicago Bears when he was 31. A guy he's been around the Chicago organization since 1976, ended in 1987. A guy that played 164 games, had 38 picks, 1 of them for touchdowns. He had a couple sacks. I'm pretty sure had hundreds of tackles that were not recorded. Part of the All-1980s team, and yeah, I think he's going to be a big-time leader in this secondary. I think him and Charles Tillman are going to be the go-to guys that really set the tone for Brown and for Duerson. So definitely, for sure. All right, now kicker is going to be Robbie Gould. He's a 1-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro. I believe he should have been multiple-time Pro Bowler, but that's just me. This is a guy that in his career hit 322 field goals. Right now, he is a 49er. 322 career field goals as of right now. 86.8 field goal percentage, and a 98.1 extra point percentage, hitting 418 extra points. He's been around the Chicago scene for 11 years. I mean, practically grew up, as a Chicago Bear. They landed in New York, they landed in San Fran, but this is a guy that's definitely underrated, underestimated, and just he is a star kicker. He's been a star kicker for a long, long time, and I would assume that he's going to be a candidate for the Hall of Fame. I think he should be if he continues the route he is in. So yeah, I gotta put him up there. Robbie Gould's gonna be really big for this team. All right, now punter is gonna be Brad Maynard. Brad Maynard, he played for the Browns. He played for the Giants. Started out his career pretty much as a Giant, and went to Chicago for 10 years and punted pretty much lights out. I mean, in his career, his career ended in 2011. But this is a guy that he had about over 1,000 punts, 56,000 punt yards. 75 was his longest punt. He only had 5 punts that he got blocked, and 41.8 was his average punt every time he punted. Overall, this guy's just had the better numbers, the bigger numbers. He's punted a lot. He's just been the best punter for the Bears in their franchise. So he is the best bet, and I think he won't disappoint. I think Robbie Gould, as well as Brad Maynard, pretty good. to kind of close out the special teams. I think the special teams of this Bears team is going to be pretty great because the returner, I'd say, is pretty great. All right, now the Bears need a returner. Obviously, the returner is going to be the best returner in NFL history, I would believe. It's Devin Hester, the guy that played for Chicago for many years, and those 8 years were magical. A big moment that I remember from him, like the biggest moment, was the Super Bowl stage when they were reversing a Super Bowl 41 against the Colts. Opening kickoff, he returns it for a touchdown. It was amazing. It was an amazing thing. He's 4-time Pro Bowl, 3-time All-Pro. In my opinion, future Hall of Famer, just because he is the best ever at just being a returner. A guy that, well, first of all, punt return wise, 315 of them for 3,695 yards, 14 touchdowns, and then for kick returns, 295 of them for 7,333 yards and 5 touchdowns for them. A guy that also in the playoffs was pretty great as well, having 13 returns for 83 yards in punt returns, and in kickoff returns, 15 returns for 428 yards and 1 touchdown. A guy that also was able to have seasons where he caught about 50 passes. So this is a guy that's another guy that can switch on and off. It's an extra receiver. So that's another great thing. But yeah, Devin Hester, the best, just fantastic player. And yeah, for him to be on Chicago, it's a big deal. Now the coach of the Chicago Bears is none other than George Halas. It could have been Mike Ditka. Could have been, well, it could have even been a possibility of of some people thinking John Fox for some reason. I don't know. I mean, he's a good coach, though. John Fox has been a good coach previously before with the Panthers, and he was pretty good with the Broncos. Obviously, that's just a random statement. Don't take my word seriously about it. But no, some people might think of Mike Ditka because he's the coach that won him Super Bowl 20. George Halas is really the biggest guy, the guy that really was very big for the Chicago Bears organization. He led them to a lot more than just one Super Bowl. First of all, he's a Hall of Famer with good reason, but he won 5 NFL titles. This is pre-Super Bowl era. Now he won 5 trophies. I think that's a thing. First of all, here's the thing. He coached 497 games, and he had 318 victories, a 68.2 win percentage in the regular season, and a 67 win percentage in the postseason. He went 6-3 with coaching 9 playoff games. Most of the time, they were in first, second place. Like, honestly, this was a Chicago Bears team. They were just there, right? Or Chicago Staleys. And he won the NFL championship his second year coaching this team at 26 years old. Had a 9-1-1 record, NFL champions. Then led him again to the NFL championship and won an NFL championship in 1933. Won another NFL championship in 1940. Won another NFL championship in 1941, and won another championship in 1946, as well as finally winning one in 1963. This is a guy that's done a lot for the game. He's just been that head coach for so long, and being a head coach from 1920 all the way to 1967, 40 years in the Chicago scene. Mike Ditka could never do that. So George Halas is the perfect guy. He's a tactician kind of guy, and I know that these guys are going to be ready to play come Sunday. All these guys will be ready to play, and I think George Halas will create a very winning mentality for this team. In my honest opinion, this team will win. I do believe that this team can win. Contenders.